This person writes, does anyone look at dumpster fire relationships and think, wait, that guy can get a girlfriend, but I can't? So I had to look up the dumpster fire relationship. It's the first time I've heard that one. But what I found was basically just like toxic relationship, drama. So I'll see if I can kind of refine that definition over time. That's kind of a funny one, dumpster fire relationship. But in this post, it said, I see so many posts on this sub, or whatever, of men being flat out deadbeat slash abusive, and it makes me think that, wow, something must really, really be wrong with me if that guy can get a girlfriend, but I can't even make it past the third date. Okay, well, some of those guys, like the deadbeat kind of loser, kind of sometimes bad boy kind of guys, well, they do whatever they want. And so that is what the kind of the appeal is. It's like they march to the beat of their own drum. So it's like she doesn't feel like she can get her way with them. And when that's the case, it gives off the perception of strength as far as almost like leadership in the relationship. And when she can't get her way with him, it's almost like allows her to be more in her feminine energy, and sometimes makes her feel more safe when she feels like he can resist her. And oftentimes when he can like resist her, it makes her wonder about him, also be curious, work to get him, and it just creates a dynamic where she has to kind of earn him. And so in comparison to like the nice guy, it's like he is already committed day one in a lot of cases. And so she has to put in zero effort in order to get this guy. And it's not really a challenge. She doesn't have much mystery. She knows exactly where he stands. She can basically just tell him whatever to do, and he goes along with her plans. And that doesn't make her feel safe because it almost communicates like a sense of weakness. Even if the guy's not necessarily weak, it's like how he's showing up and how he's communicating to her is really signs of weakness, or signs that he's not good enough for her. And so when this is the case, oftentimes like third date especially, she picks up on things like this and then she ditches you. Continuing on, even hanging out with some of my women friends, they tell me about their boyfriends, and I'm cringing the whole time. And so, yeah, what that communicates to me is that you are really attached to the outcome of getting a girlfriend. And so it's like when you hear about even someone else having a girlfriend, you're getting cringe, or you're getting like fearful or tensing up. It's just like you're so attached to the result. It's like when you have that attachment to the result, you often make it into a much bigger deal than it is, take way too much action. And when you do this, it's like you don't properly manage the space in a relationship. And also, you don't come up with like strong responses or strong ways to act when you're totally attached to her or attached to the relationship. You have to have an approach that's like self-reliant, that, hey, if I get this woman to be my girlfriend, that's great. But if I don't, I'm going to be just fine. I'll either find somebody else, or I'll be just fine hanging out by myself, because either way, it's going to be fun. I'm going to grow, and I'm going to keep continuing on my mission. Compared to like, oh, she's the one, or she's it, she's my everything. And then you drop all your plans, you drop your mission for her, you wait on her hand and foot. Or if you don't take it to that extreme, you're still like reaching out to her every day, thinking you have to have that constant contact. And when you're so attached to the result, that usually creates a sense of fear as well that's linked to it. So it's like a fear of losing that. It's like, oh, I have this. In your mind, you're like, oh, I have him, I just can't lose him, I have to hang on. And when you communicate that, usually in the form of taking way too much action, trying to please her way too much, it chases her away. He's got this quote, yeah, I don't think he's brushed his teeth for a week now, and he keeps using my credit card to buy stuff without me knowing. Oh, okay, so it's like people telling him, so his friends that are women, telling him about their boyfriends who did this kind of stuff, and then he's interpreting this as like comparison. And so he's comparing this to himself, and he's finding ways like, what's wrong with me? And so that seems to be his primary question on like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Why can't I get this date? Why can't I get a girlfriend? There must be something wrong with me. And so just recognize that pattern, because we all have usually one or two primary questions we ask ourselves. And we do that to really have a benefit. Sometimes it's for certainty. Sometimes it has a benefit, because sometimes it's like, well, if you have a question on what's wrong with me, which is a very common one that people have, it's like, well, sometimes we can find what's wrong with us, and then we can use that to improve. So it is important to kind of get deep into, the truth of our own situations and to kind of see and observe ourselves. It has that kind of insight. Or when we're saying, hey, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with this? We can recognize what's wrong, and then we can help. So it definitely has its benefits, but if you live in that, oh, what's wrong with me, and always go back to that, it's really degrading towards yourself and really degrades your confidence. And it's not really going to work out for you in the long term. So it's like we have that choice. It's like every time we recognize, well, once we get aware that we have that primary question, and it's just like we ask it to ourselves over and over and over again throughout the entire day. It's like each time we recognize it or ask ourselves, like, oh, I just asked my primary question. When that's the case, then we can basically interrupt that pattern just by being aware of it. And then we can shift to another primary question that we want to kind of shape our life, because it really does make a difference in how we direct our focus on a consistent basis.